Guys, Fortnite OG Season 7 is hiding an absolutely massive secret involving the Ice King and the Chapter 7 storyline. I don't think many people have picked up on this yet, but it's a very small detail that cannot be ignored. So if you guys don't know, Fortnite just a few hours ago officially revealed OG Season 7, and honestly, the reaction has been pretty wild from the community. People are excited, they're frustrated, and a lot of people feel like something is just off with this season already. And after looking at everything, I kind of agree with them, but not for the reasons that you might think. Of course, the reveal itself showed off all of the classic stuff, the snow biome, the POIs, all of the things we loved back in the original Season 7, and it looks great. I'm not gonna lie, the vibe is absolutely there. Obviously, this post already has over 30k likes, and people are excited, but then we get to the OG pass, and this is where everything kind of exploded. Because the one character everyone expected, the one character Season 7 pretty much revolves around, isn't there. There is no Ice King remix, nothing, and you can probably imagine the reaction that people had. But here is where it gets interesting, because I actually think this wasn't a mistake. It was a meticulous choice by Epic, and I think they did this intentionally. And when you look at everything happening in the Chapter 7 storyline, plus some weird details with the cube cradle that we actually haven't talked about yet on this channel, plus what is coming later in OG Season 7, it all starts to line up a lot more than people realize. There's something deeper going on below the surface here. So today, I want to break down not just the reveal, not just the backlash, but the big secret I think Fortnite is hiding with OG Season 7, and why this might be way bigger than just a missing Battle Pass skin. First off, though, I want to break down this reveal because the reveal itself looks really good, and I'm very happy with these kind of overviews they've been doing. They did this for Reload, Blitz, Chapter 7, of course. I'm glad to see OG actually getting some love. Hopefully, we do get an OG Season 7 trailer. That would be awesome. But I genuinely loved the original Season 7. I talked about this in my last video. Seeing the snow biome return, Polar Peak, of course, Happy Hamlet, one of my favorite POIs on the map again. It just instantly brings back that old Fortnite winter vibe. Of course, you can see here planes are officially returning. They seem to be pretty accurate to how they were originally. I know planes were always controversial, but for OG people, they're such a core part of what made Season 7 feel different. And personally, I'm really excited to fly around with them again and use the turret thing. That's going to be fun. Glider redeploy is returning. This is something that I actually forgot about, but nice to see it back. The loot pool they showed off looks solid too. It looks accurate for the most part. Of course, the suppressed sniper, scoped revolver, dual pistols, balloons, stink bombs, etc. Basically a Season 7, greatest hit selection is what they put here, which I think most people are going to be happy with, as long as everything with these weapons is actually accurate, which they've had an issue with in the past. The map update is going to be the highlight, though. Of course, the full snowy biome. We see that in the bottom of the screen here. Some screenshots of Frosty Flights. Polar Peak towering over everything. Can't wait to play that again. But this has always been probably the most iconic winter season in Fortnite. I think they definitely nailed it. But then, of course, the Infinity Blade is going to be returning later in the season. I'm actually really excited to use it again, even if it was completely broken back in the day and it was only out for a week. I didn't actually get to play with it, I don't believe. I don't believe I ever actually got the Infinity Blade, but I'm really, really excited to see that coming back. But this definitely has all of the nostalgic beats to it. It makes you feel like you're back in Season 7, but it was kind of overshadowed by the OG pass. So all the stuff that I just mentioned there is stuff that everybody would normally be very excited about, but of course the main event, the thing in the very middle, is the OG pass. And of course the first thing people noticed was, where is the Ice King? This is literally the character Season 7 was built around. He's the final tier skin back in the day. He's the one responsible for the snowstorm. Everything that happened in this season he's pretty much responsible for. He's the character that's tied to everything. Instead, we got another Lynx remix, another Onesie remix, and a Santa style Sergeant Winter remix as well, which I actually like. I don't think that one looks too bad. And people immediately pointed out that 2 of these already have remixes, a few of them I believe. And in Lynx's case, she was literally remixed in a previous OG pass. If you don't remember, she was mixed with Renegade Raider for the Season 1 OG pass. So people are understandably confused why they did these choices. The reaction has been pretty harsh. People like Season 7. It's one of the most nostalgic seasons ever, and getting it right matters more than pretty much any other OG season we've gotten so far. So leaving out the Ice King, the face of the season, feels like a massive fumble to a lot of people, and I get it, you know what I mean? From a player's perspective, when you think of OG Season 7, you think of the Ice King, you think of the event, you think of the frozen map. So for him to not appear anywhere in the past, especially when these 2 other characters have remixes already, it's just kind of a punch to the gut. But here is the thing, and I'm gonna be devil's advocate, which I am not normally. The more I look at this, the more it feels like this was intentional for a bigger reason. Of course, it was intentional because they had to bring out the OG pass. They had to make it. So they definitely intentionally left him out, and not in a we forgot kind of way or like they don't care. I feel like Epic is specifically holding the Ice King back for something much bigger and more important coming later. Maybe even as soon as this season. Now, to understand why his absence is so suspicious, we have to look at something happening in Chapter 7 right now. So taking away from the OG mode, because a lot of people actually don't realize this, but the Ice King is already confirmed, in quotation marks, confirmed to appear in the future. Not in OG, but actually on the Chapter 7 map. Now, of course, Fortnite, one of the biggest things in this brand new season is the play as a boss mechanics this season. You defeat a villain NPC, and when you take them down, you essentially turn into them if you choose to do so. You get more health, you get, I believe, a little bit of a speed boost as well as more stamina and sometimes unique abilities as well. And according to everything that we're seeing in the files right now, the Ice King is actually going to be one of these bosses at one point in Chapter 7. And this is absolutely insane. It blew my mind when I heard about it and started putting everything together, because this is where the puzzle pieces start to connect in terms of OG and Chapter 7. Because if the Ice King is supposed to play a major role in Chapter 7 storyline, which of course he can't be anywhere without playing a major role in the story because he's the king of the Ice Moon, it makes sense that Epic wouldn't want to spoil him early by dropping a remix of him in the OG pass. And this actually lines up with something happened earlier with Dark Voyager. If you guys don't remember, back in OG Season 3, and I believe I made a video on this, people were so mad. They were furious that there wasn't a Dark Voyager remix in the Season 3 OG pass, and it turned out that the reason was because he was planned to be the main villain of Chapter 7. Epic held him back for storyline reasons, and of course, the Dark Voyager we have now is so much better. It's so much more awesome than him being in an OG pass, but this exact pattern might be happening again. The Ice King might have been intentionally held out from the OG Season 7 pass because he's being saved for a major return in Chapter 7, maybe even in the item shop or something like that. And that brings us to something even bigger that we've actually talked about here on the channel before, but this just makes it so much more insane. Now, as you guys know, in Chapter 7 right now, and honestly throughout, the OG mode, we've been talking about the connection between Chapter 7 and OG in terms of the storyline. And of course, we all know the Dark Voyager came to this map, or at least he appeared here with his own little mini cube cradle, which I guess now I could technically say is from earlier in Chapter 7, that giant floating structure. He was basically using it to monitor everything happening on the island. And recently, it just disappeared, completely gone from the map. Nobody knows exactly why. Some people thought it was a bug, but I think it is actually related to the storyline. And right after it disappeared, a few days, of course, it's been since it's gone, suddenly the OG 7 reveal includes a Lynx remix. And if you remember that loading screen from earlier when the season was revealed, Dark Voyager and Lynx were literally looking at a map together. Now, even though this isn't the actual OG map or anything like that, if it was, now that would be absolutely insane. But it looks like it's the Chapter 7 map, but we know that Lynx and Dark Voyager are going to be working together in some way, specifically not Lynx back in the day in OG Season 7, but actually the OG mode remix Season 7 Lynx, if that makes sense. So a lot of people are theorizing that when the cube cradle vanished, it didn't just disappear out of thin air. It might have actually gone to the OG reality. Maybe that's how Lynx was remixed, or maybe Dark Voyager is directly interfering with the OG timeline the same way he's interfering with Chapter 7. A lot of think that he went to OG to get Lynx, and then that brings us into the whole theory that the remix skins are agents of the Dark Voyager and of the last reality, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, this is exactly what we talked about in my big video, the connection between OG and Chapter 7. It's not random. It's very intentional, and Epic keeps leaving small breadcrumbs that suggest the two timelines are slowly merging, or maybe not merging, just interacting in ways that we wouldn't even think of. So just in a nutshell, in case you guys are confused, the theory is that the cube cradle and Dark Voyager went to the OG mode, and he's going to be grabbing Lynx for some reason. We don't exactly know why he's using her, why they're working together. She's probably an agent of the last reality. They have some type of connection. She doesn't look like she's being held hostage there or anything, so we will just have to wait and see. So when people get upset about the Ice King remix being missing, they might actually be unknowingly pointing at the biggest clue of all. The Ice King might not be missing, he might just be in the wrong timeline, and he might be returning in a way that ties both modes together. Of course, in Season 7, we know he's there the whole time, but what if he's actually not this time? He's not on the OG map, and we're like, where is he? And then he appears in none other than Chapter 7. Maybe he actually goes against the Dark Voyager. He sneaks on their ship when the Dark Voyager goes to grab the Lynx remix, and then he gets to the Chapter 7 map somehow, and then he's trying to track him down as well. The Dark Voyager loves to track people down, as he's doing with the Order and things like that. I think that would be really cool. It kind of ties both modes together. I think that would be absolutely awesome and explains why the Ice King is a boss. And as you guys know, we talked about this in my earlier video, and if you want to go watch that about why OG Season 7 has so much pressure around it, make sure you go watch that after this video. But people are worried about this season because Season 7 is genuinely one of the most nostalgic seasons in Fortnite history. This is sacred territory for a lot of people, genuinely. If Fortnite messes this up, the frustration will be even higher, and of course, because the Ice King isn't there, and because a lot of people aren't really aware of the possible connection between OG and Chapter 7, a lot of people are already a bit worried. So when people see the past fumble, they see the lack of marketing again, maybe, because as of right now, there still haven't been any like actual teasers or any trailers or anything. It makes sense why there's concern. People just want Season 7 to feel accurate and authentic and hyped up like it matters. But at the same time, Epic shutting OG down before Season 7 gives me hope. Hopefully it is actually smoother this time. They work on it a little more, and it doesn't guarantee a perfect season. Nothing ever does, but it does show they're willing to reset things if they need to and kind of look over what they're doing to try and fix things. So hopefully it is better than Season 6. But even with all of these concerns and controversy, I'm honestly really excited to play this season. It was a magical time in Fortnite. I can't wait to actually pick up the Infinity Blade again because it might have been broken, but it was absolutely iconic. But I'm also really excited to see the Ice King connection to OG as well as the Dark Voyager. We know 100% confirmed that the Lynx and Dark Voyager are going to have something to do with Chapter 7 and OG, and maybe Dark Voyager will start doing things even a little bit more differently now instead of, you know, how it was back in OG. Things could start ramping up in terms of the differences and things like that. The cube cradle disappearing, him intentionally being hidden from the battle pass, it's all leading up to something. And even if OG Season 7 isn't perfect, I think it's going to be really important for where this mode is heading next. But let me know what you guys think about all of this. Are you disappointed the Ice King remix isn't in the past, or do you think the Epic is saving him for something bigger like I do? Of course, like always, I'm going to be covering everything that happens this week, especially if the storyline starts moving again after it comes out. So if you want more on stuff like that, be sure to check out my recent videos on the Dark Voyager, the Lynx remix, and how OG and Chapter 7 are starting to connect. I upload every single day, you guys, so you'll never miss out on anything that's going on. Guys, drop a like on today's video if you did enjoy. You watched all the way to the end. You must have enjoyed, so drop a like. Subscribe to the channel. I make videos like these every single day. Use code Prozero in the item shop. Remember, guys, I changed my code from ProzeroYT to Prozero, so if you want to support me, make sure you are using code Prozero. Thank you all so much for supporting me. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.